Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 188. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you deep into the night here on a Sunday evening, and I am joined by our Western correspondent, a man who was on the ground in person the last 2 days in Arizona. Scott Coleman is here. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Brad. I'm great. And before we really get into the meat and potatoes of this show, I just have to give a gigantic shout out to all of the Braves fans who were at Chase Field this weekend. The first base line sounded like Truist Park. There were so many Braves fans there when the Braves had their big comeback in the 8th inning and on Michael Harris's go-ahead double. I mean, it erupted, and it was so cool. It is Braves country personified, that 2,000 miles away from Atlanta. You have so many fans who were into the game cheering. My section was loaded with Braves fans. I met a couple people who actually recognized me from the podcast, which is one, always just kind of crazy to me. And two, now that we do these shows on YouTube the last couple of months, our faces are out there a little bit more than they used to be. But super cool to meet Braves fans, not just from Arizona, but from San Diego. A Braves couple who were fans in Hawaii made the trip to Phoenix for it. Really, really cool. And I know they didn't get the sweep on Sunday, which is what we were all hoping for. But overall, another really good week and weekend for the Braves.
For sure. And we should say at the top of the show, as we always try to remember to do, we are part of Foul Territory and the network. Check out that podcast and the entire network of podcasts. We are Hammer Territory. We cover the Braves. Scott lives in Arizona, if you didn't already catch that. And that's why he was allowed to be our on-the-ground correspondent. But look, you were in the building until the last 2 days. It's not something that every podcast can say about a podcast at a set of games that was happening 2,500 miles away. And like you said, it's a positive weekend for the Braves. Not quite the exuberant tone that it might have been had they won today in a winnable game on Sunday. But also they pulled one out, as we'll talk about in great detail in a second. Saturday's game was wild. Absolutely a crazy, memorable win for the Braves. And our colleagues, Sean and Steve, broke down the game on Friday, in which the Braves scored 8 runs without hitting a home run, which is not usually what the Braves tend to do. So plenty to talk about, but I'll just start here, Scott. I promised our listeners we won't do this every episode, but remember when the Braves were 0-7? It was pretty dire. It was not going very well. And even more recently than that, the Braves were 5-13. Like, that's not very good either, but they've basically played at a 97-win pace since the 0-7 start, and you can't erase that start. It did happen, but they've been playing very well, and even more recently than that, again, they've won 7 of the last 9 games, and they've won 3 consecutive series. And this one on the road in Arizona, as you well know, living there, that's a good team. Arizona's a good team, and to go there and win the series, period. And we talked about this the last time you and I did a show together just a few days ago. Stacking series victories is not a small thing. It seems obvious. We get that. But going out there and winning 2 out of 3 in Arizona is not a small thing, even if that sweep would have been better.
Yeah, really, it was important for the Braves to keep the momentum and the positive vibes going after winning that series against the Cardinals. And of course, also coming off of the sweep of the Twins. 2 average-ish teams, and then a really good team in Arizona. If I had to put my life savings on it, I will say the Diamondbacks are a playoff team come October. And the Braves, I mean, they really did have to battle this weekend. And I think it's just more of what we've seen over the past couple of weeks since that really bad start. The offense has been really good for the most part. There are still a moment or 2 or 3 seemingly every night where we bang our heads against the wall. But that's going to be 98% of teams. Every team has struggles in one area or another. And the pitching, for the most part, has been good enough. Maybe not great. We'll talk about the rotation and the state of it and the bullpen a little bit later. But, this pitching staff, at least for the better part of 2.5, 3 weeks now, has at least given the Braves a chance to win most nights, especially with the way the bats have really picked it up.
They have. And again, we don't want to go through this every time we do a podcast, but if you kind of take out the first week of the season, which again, you can't do, the Braves have basically been a top 5 offense on the margins, WRC plus, slugging percentage, on base percentage, home runs, all those things over the last, chunk of games here. And the runs scored have been a little bit lagging behind that, which again goes to sequencing, which we talked about a lot a couple weeks ago, and less so the last couple of days and weeks, but still kind of part of this thing. But like they've been performing pretty much as expected on offense for about 3 weeks now. And it's 3 weeks, but that is encouraging for a team that needs their offense because the pitching is what it is. Like it is flawed right now. It's not disastrous, but it is flawed. They have injuries to the rotation, the bullpen, especially the closer, as we'll talk about later, has been rough this season at times, but they're keeping it above board. And basically, the way that I'd frame this, and I wasn't going to say this necessarily, but now I'm thinking I should. They're not in a situation now. In fact, when I hear people talk about the Braves struggling now, I'm like, it stirs in me something to say, like, they're really not. Like, they did struggle at the beginning of the season, but right now they're really not struggling. It's just people haven't necessarily figured out that they stopped struggling. When you win 3 series in a row, you're not struggling anymore. Like, they're playing pretty good baseball right now, and they have to keep doing it because the margin for error shrunk so much. But they are playing at the level that we basically thought they were going to play. It wasn't necessarily like the format that we always thought, but if you simply started the season on April 3rd, it would have been pretty darn normal so far. It's just that first week didn't happen.
Well, and yes, you're right. And I think too, we knew that this team was going to have a real challenge out of the gate. One, because of the really tough schedule up front, but also they didn't have Ronald Acuna Jr. and they didn't have Spencer Strider, and now they don't have Spencer Strider again. But I think if you would have just told us blindly when the team was 0-7, sure, a 10-game winning streak would be awesome. But really, it's just about keeping your head above water and making sure that you don't fall so far down in the standings that when you do inevitably start to play better, that you're climbing up a mountain that you're not going to have time to climb in the remaining 4 or 5 months of the season. And based on this recent stretch, 3 series wins in a row, from 5-13 to 12-15, sure, on opening day, if I would have told you blindly that the team was going to be 12-15 after basically the first month, nobody would be happy about it. But it's not disastrous. And that first week was disastrous. And it was so frustrating. I think that's kind of gotten out of their system. This weekend, I was rubbing shoulders with Mark Bowman and Justin Toscano, friends of the pod. And they felt like just being around the team in the clubhouse too, it feels like the Braves have kind of gotten that swagger back and have kind of gotten that feeling of just fatalism where every night seemingly something would go wrong at the worst moment possible. They said like they've kind of put that behind them. And, those guys are up close and personal in the dugout or in the clubhouse every single game. So that was encouraging too, to hear from people really close to the team that psychologically, I think this team has kind of gotten past the yips, if you will, the first 2 or 3 weeks of the year.
Yeah. And you don't want to overweight that. Like, I always kind of reflexively push back on like some of that, not all of it, some of that like narrative-y stuff, but it does matter. You have to have confidence. Professional baseball players have to have confidence. Like, they can't go in there thinking with some bad thing's going to happen in the back of their head. Like, that's not what you want. You want to have good vibes. They do matter. How much they matter is up for debate, of course, but ultimately they've been playing pretty good baseball now for a few weeks, and hopefully that continues as we'll kind of talk about it at the end of the podcast, but they do have a pretty favorable series that's going to begin on Monday. I know I don't want to speak for you, Scott, but we just talked before we started recording. We're both a little bit scared about the series that's happening on Monday, as we'll talk about, because they're playing the worst team in baseball, and it's always something a little bit scary about that prospect. But yeah, it's probably good on paper still to play those.
It is, yes, it is very good on paper to play a team. The Colorado Rockies are 4-24, I think now. They're on pace to win 25 baseball games this year. It's kind of terrifying. It's kind of like facing a great basketball player who has missed like 23 pointers in a row, and you know that he's going to hit one and then it's just going to be an avalanche. Let's hope, and we'll talk about the Rockies series more at the end of the podcast, but hopefully after this team so frustratingly a year ago struggled with teams like the Rockies and like the White Sox. They lost the series to the White Sox last year. Let's hope that they can build off this 3 series wins in a row, win 2 out of 3, if not a sweep. We're never going to say this team needs to sweep, but the Rockies are really bad. But even if they can take 2 out of 3 in Colorado and then have a day off Thursday, it's just like we keep saying, man, I don't want to be repetitive, but stacking series wins is what this team needs to do. And they've done a really nice job of it since that really deflating series up in Toronto.
That's right. And after all that, that's kind of the overall vibe. We will get into the games that Scott was looking up to witness in person on Saturday and Sunday. We'll probably spend a little bit more time on Saturday because it was just more fun in general. We'll get to those breakdowns, plus the latest news, and a look ahead at that Rocky series, All of it's coming up in just a minute after a word from our partners.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah. Watch me some dingers and RBIs. I'm just glad they have my local team live for its root for the Bravos. If they don't win, it's a shame. Braves games, announcers, and more Braves games. FanDuel Sports Network has the Braves. Stream now.
Okay, Scott, let us dive into maybe the game of the season so far. I don't want to out you, but I believe you declared it that either on social media or something. Would you still buy that now with a little bit of distance since Saturday?
Yes.
Was it the game of the year on Saturday? You still believe so?
It was the game of the year, and it was historic in some ways. I mean, let's just jump right in.
Yeah.
What are the odds? Like the implied odds in Vegas from a neutral odds maker. You tell them blindly that one team is going to have a player hit 4 home runs, 2 of which will drive in multiple runs. What are the odds that the other team is going to win the game? It has to be like 1%.
Oh, less. I mean, maybe, I don't know. As I think Sarah Lane's reported this. The Braves are only the 3rd team ever to allow 4 home runs in a game and still win. Now, granted, the sample size of 4 home run games is not very large. That's part of this. But the math would tell you that like 4 home runs, even if they're all solo home runs, you're way behind the 8 ball. And generally speaking, they probably won't be all 4 solo home runs as these 4 were not. So yeah, I mean, having to overcome that, and look, you did it to yourself on some level. Eugenio Suarez is a very good power hitter. People don't know who he is, but this is a guy who hit 49 home runs in a season. 49 home runs in a season. Like you can't fake that. He's very good. But man, the Braves haven't allowed 4 home runs in in a game to a player in 60 years. Like you just don't see that every day. It was just, that's the headliner of the game in some respects, even though the Braves won it, is that they allowed a 4 home run game to a player.
Willie Mays was, ever hear of that guy? Willie Mays was the last opposing hitter to hit 4 homers in a game against the Braves. 1961. Where were you in 1961, Brad?
I was not on this mortal coil. I mean, you pulled the stat, and I'll just share it. Like, there are fewer instances of 4 home run games than there are perfect games in Major League history. And perfect games don't happen, man. Everyone kind of knows that off the top of their head. Like, but they happen more often than 4 home run games. So maybe we won't get into this because it's not. If this is a playoff game, we'd spend a lot of time on this. But like letting him beat you for the 4th time at the end of the game to tie the game is like will make your head explode. Like, how does this guy how do you let this guy beat you in that spot? But hey, they won the game.
Let's get probably the one real negative part of this podcast just out of the way, out of our system.
Okay, I'll follow you.
Raisel Iglesias.
Yeah.
Capital letters, yikes. Capital letters, oh no. I mean, every time Raisel goes into the game, something bad happens. And it's becoming more of a trend than an oddity. And sure, you can say it's only 1 month and he can get it figured out and all of that. But man, Raisel, for a reliever, the Braves absolutely need to be good. He has been anything but. I think Raisel might have the lowest WAR of any pitcher in baseball after another home run given up on Saturday night.
Yeah, so it is definitely the worst thing about the game. I am going to be me. I'm only one person, Scott. I'm going to be me and be the guy that will just be like, I'm not quite as panicked as everybody else is, but I get it. To be very fair. He's only thrown 10 times this season. On the bright side, he has 9 strikeouts and a 1.10 whip. That's pretty good. He isn't really walking a lot of guys, but the money stat with Raisel right now is that last season he allowed 4 home runs in almost 70 innings of work. Now, relief pitchers, as we've been doing for years and years and years, they're volatile, number 1. Small sample size is number 2. Even the best guys, it could be over in a flash, which is why this is even scarier in some respects. But 4 home runs in almost 70 innings. And look, he was a little bit lucky last year, which we did talk about a lot in real time. Like, he was not quite as good as his ERA was last year. That's fair to say. At the same time, he has now allowed more home runs this season, 5, than he did all of last season. It is April 27th. That is a good, Scott. 5 and 10 innings. So if you wanted to be the optimist, as I'll play the Sean Coleman right now on our podcast and say, I don't think Raisel Iglesias is gonna allow a home run every 2 innings the rest of the season. Now, that's a pretty low bar to clear, right? He's not been a high home run guy in his career. That's another small positive. But the other side of that, if you wanted to frame it, is like maybe it's over. Like, we're not going to declare Raisel Iglesias done right now. I'm not going to do that.
Oh, no.
But it is definitely very, very possible that he is not the same pitcher anymore. He's 35 years old. I mean, there's more to life than age and all this stuff. But like, when a 35-year-old has a month like this, you have to treat it a little bit differently than a 28-year-old having a month like this. Like, it's still a month. I'm not. Okay, here's a question for you, Scott. This might help us to get the conversation continued. There's been a lot of talk online. I know it's online. People are mad about like ejecting him from the closer role already on April 27th. I'll ask you. We have not prepped this at all, just for the record. Let's say Monday in Colorado. The Braves have a 1-run lead in the 9th inning. Do you want it to be Iglesias on the mound? Or would you, if you're Brian Snitker, keep that in mind. Not just the fan, keep him. It's a major decision. If Brian Snitker were to not give the ball to a available Raisel Iglesias with a 1-run lead in the 9th inning, that is a sounder. That's a organizational decision.
Yeah.
Do you want that to be the case, or do you want to give him a little bit longer leash?
Not yet. I think Raisel gets a few more weeks to figure it out. And sure, if he goes out there and his next 3 or 4 appearances are quiet and he's not giving up a home run to every other hitter, then, everything kind of goes away. Okay, it was a bad month. Maybe there was something mechanically off. And with relievers, especially closers, the margin is so small. You make one mistake and your night is effectively ruined. So I think you have to roll with Raisel for now, but let's use that scenario. If Raisel pitches on Monday or Tuesday and he blows yet another save, then it might be, then I think the siren gets louder. I don't know if the siren will be at full blast, but it'll definitely be a few more decibels up. Yeah. And then, the Braves need more. This team, after the 5-13 start, cannot give away games in the 9th inning. And thank God they found a way to win. And we'll talk about Saturday's game more now here in a second. But thank God they found a way to win. Because for all the craziness, if they would have ended up losing that game when they were 3 outs away from Raisel, and then he gave up a 95-mile-an-hour meatball belt high to a guy who already had 3 homers that night, that's obviously a concern. We'll see. It has very quickly become a real debatable talking point and storyline for this team. And coming into the year, Raisel had just been so good and so reliable. That really wasn't on anyone's radar.
Right. It's the age. And I guess fortunately at this moment, he's only signed for this season. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. It'd be even scarier and worse if he was multi-year. He's making a lot of money. That's part of this too. But again, one more small bright spot is he's only allowed 9 hits in 10 innings, but 5 of them are homers. So it's like, all the underlying data is not good either. Like that, just to be 100% transparent, like a lot of blue on that StatCast page. Now it's 10 innings. But that's not what you want to see. It's like he's getting unlucky, like he's getting hit hard and missing and all kinds of things. The ones, I guess, like one small, the velocity is pretty normal, so it's not like I don't think it's an injury, which is a good thing, but a little scary. One thing I will note though is funny, and we'll transition back to the game because it matters for this discussion. I just checked this. The Braves have actually won the last 6 games Raisel has pitched in. So they actually haven't been burned by him blowing up, but only because they've been able to overcome it. Like he's blown some leads and then they've won in extras, or they've blown leads and then they've won at the bottom of the 9th, like which happened again in this game on Saturday. So going back to it, like they've been a little lucky actually to not to not lose more of these games in which Raisel has gotten hit hard. So you're walking a knife's edge that you can't continue to walk. But anyway, that one, as you said, the one bad thing is out of the way really for this discussion. We can zoom kind of to the end a little bit here. Grant Holmes blew up a little bit the command went away in a hurry. You were there. What did you make of him? Because like it seemed like people were like, "Oh, he's pitched pretty well," and then in the fourth inning, he just like suddenly couldn't find the strike zone. It was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves for Grant Holmes, and the first 3 innings were really good. I think he had 4 strikeouts and only 1 walk, and then that fourth inning just spiraled. And credit to the Diamondbacks, man. I mean, they just would not make an out. There was an 11 pitch at bat in there, which eventually became an RBI single or 2 RBI single on a ball that was really well placed. It was a slider on the outside corner. The batter just went out and got it. I think the home run to Suarez, the second one,
Say, which one?
Yeah, I know. I had
Sorry.
to think like, wait,
I didn't mean to laugh like that on the microphone, but it made me laugh because like he hit 3 off of Grant Holmes in the game.
Crazy.
So, pretty good.
I think it was the second one. The second one came on like pitch number 8 or number 9. So I think it was it was not Grant Holmes at his best.
No.
The fact is, man, this team is relying on effectively a 5th starter in Grant Holmes to pitch like a 3rd starter.
Yep.
And that's a little scary. And it's not fair to Grant Holmes, a career minor leaguer basically up until last year. In a perfect world, he is the 5th starter or he's a utility knife in that bullpen, but neither of those can happen at least for the foreseeable future. So thankfully the Braves were able to overcome 6 runs in 5 innings, I think, from Holmes is nothing special, but thankfully the offense really picked him up and the Braves were able to fight back and get a win.
For sure. The big thing with Grant Holmes, at least for me, is that he cannot walk this many people. He's walking about 5.5 or 9 right now. And while we like Grant Holmes, he cannot live that way. He can't. So he's got it. I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure they know that. It's not like a big secret. He can't walk that many guys. So that's when, not coincidentally, when the wheels fell off in that inning in the fourth because he couldn't find the zone anymore. So anyway, put that to the side. As far as the comeback is concerned, the Braves were down 6-4 with 2 outs and nobody on in the 8th inning. At that point, just a broad like win probability chart, you are in the single-digit percentages to win that game, down 2 runs with 4 outs remaining and nobody on base. Then they have a huge rally. It's a couple of walks by Olsen and Murphy, an RBI single by Ozzie Albies, and then a massive 2-run double by Michael Harris, who we've picked on a lot early in the season. He has been much better lately. That was the biggest single swing of the game, was that swing by Michael Harris.
Yeah, really. I mean, another 8th inning for this Braves team. I don't know what's in the water, but clearly the 8th inning, for whatever reason, has been their inning this year. But such a good comeback. Going into it, you mentioned, I think on like 6 pitches, Riley and Ozuna made outs without a fight, honestly. And then it was like, wow, this team out of nowhere. And that kind of felt like prime 2021 to 2023 Braves offensively, where they were seemingly dead in the water. And then you blink and they had taken the lead on you. And really good at bats, Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, 2 great walks from Olsen and Murphy. Just in some ways, it was a team effort to win that game offensively on Saturday night. And that 8th inning was just so much fun. I said it off the top. Chase Field, great energy, great environment all weekend. The Braves fans were really into it. It was just a lot of fun to come back, because when you're down 6-2, like they were, I think, in the 5th or 6th inning, to then come all the way back and then, of course, win it in extra innings. It was a really fun game, and credit to the offense for bailing out the pitching staff.
For sure. And after the Eli White home run and then that big swing by Harris, it's kind of funny in some respects that they were able to score the winning run in the 10th on basically nothing. A swinging bunt and then a wild pitch was kind of ironic. And then, look, you made this point live in real time being in the building, and I think you had a much better angle on it than I had. But number one, shouts to Dylan Lee for closing it out. And I made this point before, I'll say it again here. The assumption is not 0 runs in extra innings. When you are granted a runner on second base, getting 1 is like table stakes. You almost have to score 1. And Dylan Lee did not allow 1 in the bottom half of the inning. And the biggest play was this Austin Riley masterclass, honestly, for the final out of the game. You saw it live. What did you see from that? Because it was a pretty impressive play from where I was sitting.
Yeah, so impressive from both Austin Riley and Matt Olson. I don't know if the cameras picked it up, but the ball was hit really hard down the third base line by Randall Grichuk. And Riley not only had to go to his right to field the ball, but he did not have his footing underneath him when he made that throw.
Mm-hmm.
And his kind of mental calculation in real time to skip the ball to Olsen on a pretty fast infield turf there was really, really astute. And a great job by Olsen, too, of kind of adjusting his body and inching out as far as he could to catch the ball just seconds before Grichuk's foot hit the bag. Just two really, really heads up plays by the Braves. I can't believe, dude, let's just say this. I cannot believe how bad the umpiring crew was in all 3 games this weekend.
Yeah.
Even the Diamondbacks fans sitting around me were not cheering at all when the umpire called the runner safe at first, because even they knew. I mean, everyone in that stadium, other than the umpire 5 feet away,
Yeah,
knew that he was out.
Well, you know, Matt Olson is like the most stoic guy in the world. He was immediately like, "No, this game's over." Like,
Yeah.
he knew it. He knew it right away. He made a signal. He was like, "Challenge that immediately." Like, we're out of here.
Dylan Lee knew too on the mound. He immediately reacted. And it's funny, I don't think a single Braves player actually cared that the umpire called him safe, because the whole field knew that he was out. So great play by Riley. I tweeted this. Just credit to Austin, a player once upon a time now, we're talking 6-7 years ago, had real questions if he was going to be able to stick at third base. Would he become a first baseman? Would he become a DH in a bad scenario? And Austin has really worked on his body, really worked on his fielding, his footwork, his athleticism. He has evolved into a really, really good defensive third baseman. And without a really good play to field that ball, throw it across the diamond, and a perfect stretch from Olsen, the game is probably tied. And then who knows what happens after that.
For sure. And look at an awesome win. Obviously, we're talking about this after they lost on Sunday. I will grant that. But that's one of those games that you remember over the course of the season. Look, there's a lot of – I'll speak for myself. There's a lot of games over 162 that I just won't remember. You know, in September, October, like you could quiz me about something that happened in May, and I'll be like, wait, that happened? And I remember a lot of things. That game I will remember. I will remember that win. Part of it's that you were there, but and I knew you were there. But it was one of those – that was an awesome game. It was an awesome win. And we'll definitely talk about that one for a while. As for the other game, this will be quicker on Sunday. Of course, a 6-4 loss to wrap up the series. But again, they won the series. Keep that in mind. I'll leave with Schwellenbach, I guess. He wasn't awful, but was not fantastic again. Are you worried at all about your formerly crowned Cy Young winner just a few weeks ago, Cy Schwellenbach? How are we feeling about him right now?
Yeah, maybe it's time to double down on those Cy Young tickets.
Wow, okay. I mean, his ERA is still in the twos. He's still fine.
You took the words out of my mouth. It's so weird to evaluate and talk about Schwellenbach because he has a 2.87 ERA. All of his underlying data and peripherals are strong, but it also feels like he's not pitching very well. I don't know. It's weird. Like Sunday's game, Schwellenbach pitched really well outside of just a couple of moments. And even some of the bad moments, like he gave up a solo homer to Perdomo. He got 2 quick outs, and then he was up 0-2 on Perdomo. And then he gives up the solo homer. He got victimized by Corbin Carroll's speed. That's going to happen. That guy's incredible.
Corbin Carroll, I mean, he had 2 triples in the same game, which never happens, and he's just, that guy's a freak. Anyway.
Yes. There was some bad sequencing. The one thing that was really on Schwellenbach was that horrendous throwing error. Schwellenbach will be the first to tell you he was I think a shortstop in college. You have to set your feet. Literally never throw a baseball jumping in the air unless there is no other thing to do. They tell you that when you're 5 years old. That was bad. And honestly, Nick Allen probably should have picked that ball too, even if it was a bad throw. I don't know. I mean, where are you at with Schwellenbach? Because
I feel fine. I mean, I don't think he's been particularly sharp recently. It's fair to say. I think if he was, if he was a older, more established pitcher, I feel like no one would be worried at all. It's just because he has only done this for 1 year, and I get it. But even in the midst of this most recent stretch, like he was totally fine to pretty good against St. Louis last week. Like pitched well, 7 innings, struck out 5 with no walks. Like you mentioned the peripherals. There's nothing concerning in there. He's had 2 starts that I think were like not particularly good. It was the Toronto one where he was pretty bad actually. And then today he was like, C-. Like he wasn't awful. They had a chance to win the game. He was fine. So no, I'm not worried. I get it. If you weren't a believer before, you might still be worried a little bit more than I am. But like, I know I'm a parody of myself, but I mean, his strikeout to walk ratio is comical. Like, and that's usually a good indicator. I think he's walking. Yeah, he's got 6 walks in 37 2/3 innings. Like I'm not worried. I'm just not.
In some ways, he is a victim of his own early success.
Yeah.
And victim is probably even too strong of a word, but he has been so good since he kind of established himself after a couple of starts last year that when Schwellenbach has a game where he gave up 4 runs over 6 innings on the road in a hitter's paradise against one of the best lineups in baseball so far, that we're even talking about is something wrong. I think that just speaks to how good he is compared to like a Bryce Elder, where if he went 6 innings and gave up 4 runs, it would be like, okay, that's kind of what we expect. Honestly, it's not the worst thing. I think it just is really a statement to how good Schwellenbach is as he comes up on a full calendar year in the major leagues.
We agree. I mean, other than that, the biggest thing in the game, I suppose, beyond just the fact they were losing most of the way, was it was suddenly it was 4-1 in the 7th inning, and they're down 3, and it's like, all right, can they pull off another miracle, essentially? Or not a miracle, but you know what I mean, like something really, really favorable. And they open the inning perfectly. White reaches on an error, Baldwin singles, Allen singles, Verdugo singles. Like that's the bottom. Like that's great. You've got all the way to the top to your guys. It's 4-3. Runners on the corners with nobody out in the 7th, and the next 3 hitters are Riley, Ozuna, and Olsen. You are feeling incredible at that point in time. Now you were down 3 runs like 5 seconds ago, but now it's like, wow, the Braves. I didn't check this in real time. I probably should have. I would bet you, Scott, the Braves were favored in the live betting market to win that game at that moment in time. They were still losing, but given the situation that we just laid out, first and third, no outs, Riley, Ozuna, Olsen up. And the biggest swing of the game is that Riley and Ozuna both struck out. And all they had to do, even a double play, ties the game.
Yes.
So even like, I mean, I'm not one that's I'm not a big put the ball in play and nothing ever bad. Like you can hit into a double play and it's sometimes a bad outcome. But in that moment, a double play, at least from Riley, would have scored a run and tied the game. Instead, your two of your 3 best hitters. Certainly, you have a top 3. It's Riley, Ozuna, and Olsen in some order, right? And 2 of your best 3 just did the one thing that you couldn't do there. I mean, maybe aside from maybe pop out would have been the same result, but not getting either of those guys to even hit the ball in the outfield, something there to score a run is painful. I guess maybe a little bit less because they allowed 2 runs in the bottom half. But look, the whole game changed if you tie the game. That's just the reality.
It was a backbreaker, and it really felt like the Braves were going to do it again.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally set up as best as you could. And a big, big, big tip of the cap to the bottom of the order today, which was awesome. Nick Allen had a great game. Eli White had another good game. Alex Verdugo's at the top of the lineup. That dude went 4 for 4 with a walk.
Yep.
Got on base. Yeah, got on base 5 times. Is that now 2 4-hit games for Verdugo in 10 days?
I mean, Verdugo has an 840 OPS right now.
Yeah.
Like he's doing everything you could possibly ask him to do so far. With the
especially at the top of the order. He hasn't hit for a ton of power, but he gets on base. And that's why it's not a coincidence that the Braves are finally getting some production out of the leadoff spot. And they're scoring runs. Spoiler alert. That's what you need. That's what you need your leadoff hitter to do. Yep. And while Michael Harris has done a really good job of improving and turning it on the last few weeks, Michael Harris is not a leadoff hitter. And neither is Ozzie Albies, who we could probably talk for an hour about the state of Ozzie Albies right now. We won't do it. Maybe we'll do it on a future off day of the podcast.
We've done it like between our 2 shows. We've done it a lot in the last week. So we'll take one off.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, it was a crushing moment to not capitalize there. And really, I mean, the Braves could have won this game on Sunday. They had a ton of hits. They had a lot of walks. They just could not get that one big, big, big knockout blow. Yep. And on the other hand, the Diamondbacks did not have a ton of opportunities, but when they did have a chance, they took full advantage. There was that 2-run double that dropped in perfectly. If that ball's a few feet over, Michael Harris or Verdugo catch it. Instead, it drops perfectly between them. They couldn't dive because they probably would have knocked each other out with a concussion if they both dove for it. You know, it's one of those things. thankfully, when you win games 1 and 2, of course, you're trying to win every game, but you do have a little bit of flexibility and latitude when you've already guaranteed yourself the win, the series win, that is. But yeah, just one of those games, man. There was a lot of also, in the first inning, runners on the corners, nobody out, and then you get doubled off the sac fly, and then Verdugo stumbles on third base and then couldn't quite get home in time. Just kind of one of those days, and that's frustrating.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't always note that they had a good opportunity, the one shining one. But you're right, it was the entire game. Like they out hit the Diamondbacks. They had more walks than the Diamondbacks. They had 11 hits and 4 walks, but they left 10 guys on base. It's just one of those games. It happens, and fortunately, we talked about the lack of margin for error earlier. When you have won a bunch recently, it doesn't sting quite as badly. If this had been one of those games when if they had gone to 1-9 with this loss, we'd be absolutely tearing your hair out right now. But it's a little bit less impactful for our psyche because it happened after they won 7 out of 8 games before this. And they lost one. It's okay. Okay, before we move on, we have to do something right now, and it's important about a number of things. Number one, it is our segment brought to you by Fanduel Sports Network. We're going to stream Braves games. I'll tell you more about that in a second. The other one is that I want to highlight this player. That player is Eli White, is our spotlight player on the podcast today. It won't be a super long segment on Eli White, but he's been really good, man. It's not a huge secret. I think our mutual friend and former guest, Justin Toscano, started making the way for Nick Allen and Eli White to make the All-Star game in Atlanta in July. Tongue-in-cheek, of course, but listen, Eli White is on a 4-game hitting streak right now. He has been giving them a little bit of juice, and I'll be the first to say I don't know if he's going to still be able to hit on a bigger sample size, but right now he is doing what they need him to do. And I want to shout out Eli White because, by the way, is it the bat? Is it the old torpedo bat? I know that storyline kind of went away, but he's using it, and it's going well for him.
Hey,
we'll see.
The results speak for themselves, and not only is Eli White producing, but he's producing at a position that was giving the Braves not even just a 0, but like a negative.
An active negative, yes.
Yes. Kelnick and Brian De La Cruz and Stuart Fairchild, that just couldn't continue. And good on Brian Snitker for kind of pressing that button and giving Eli White a chance.
That actually reminds me, this is part of the segment. I guess we're going to do this now. I forgot about this. Everyone kind of noticed this, including us, but how about Eli White playing against righties and Jared Kelnick not? I think it's the right decision, but boy, that's a statement in itself for Kelnick sitting against right. Given the absence of Profar and Ronnie at the same time, and Kelnick stopped playing against a righty, it's like, okay, Eli White, everybody.
And why not? Why not keep putting Eli White out there?
I agree with it. For the record, it's a statement of some sort.
Yes, it is. It's notable that, sure, the day game against the Cardinals, maybe you want to give Kelnick a day off, but then you reward Eli White for being good on Friday, and then Saturday he hits a big home run down the line, 2-run shot to make it 6-2 to 6-4. So then you're even more so in the game.
You called that one on the show, I believe.
I did. I did say on Wednesday's show, you asked me if Eli White was going to homer again. And I said, sure, he's going to hook a ball down the line in Arizona into the bullpen. The foul pole got in the way, but it would have gone into the bullpen otherwise.
Yeah.
So shout out to me, I guess, every now and then. Blind squirrel.
Shout out. Please, someone clip that. Please, someone clip that and post it on social media of Scott saying shout out to me on the show. Go ahead, sir. I'm just
take the win when I can get it.
We have to.
But yeah, man, back to future All-Star Eli White. You need players like him to step up when you play a 162 game season. And we'll see what happens whenever Acuna comes back in a few weeks. I'm guessing it'll be some mix of Verdugo and White. Sure. I think it's going to
be a Verdugo.
Yeah. Verdugo has the track record. He's a lefty, all of those things. But until the magic fairy dust wears off, keep running Eli White out there. And even just on the plays that we all remember, the homers, but there was a play, I think on Friday night, where Eli banged the ball off the plate and forced the third baseman to have to rush a throw, and he made an error because Eli White can fly. He's like 98th percentile in sprint speed.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that can impact a game, even if they aren't necessarily obvious and apparent in a box score. Pro Eli White, good for him, man. He is stuck around for a long time to get his chance. Hopefully he keeps it going, has a good series in Colorado. Clearly he's figured out something, or he's benefiting from this torpedo bat, and anything he can give the Braves in the corner when it was so bad the first couple of weeks is a huge win, and we'll take it all day long.
Yes, absolutely. Shouts to Eli White. The power has been shocking to some degree. 2 home runs, 2 doubles in 4 games. But he is a valuable piece no matter what. Like, even if he's like the 25th guy on the roster with the speed, the defense, they're going to need him. And it's been a fun thing. So we at least want to shout him out. And now a word from our partners at FanDuel Sports Network. You can now stream Braves games through FanDuel Sports Network. And if you use the promo code BASEBALL30, that's promo code BASEBALL30, you can start it off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. That is FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Promo code BASEBALL30. Offer expires 5/2/25, $19.99 a month after free trial. Cancel during free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit FanDuelSportsNetwork.com for details. All right, Scott, before we get out of here, a little bit of news and a brief Rockies preview. Not a huge bit of news, but what was your reaction? I'll just ask you this because we didn't talk about it in real time, actually. The Braves claimed old pal Ian Anderson off waivers on Sunday morning, and it happened in a way where, again, Justin Toscano had to tweet, "I'm not kidding," as the preface to the way he delivered the news. Okay, Ian's back. He's going to meet the team in Denver on Monday. What do you make of this?
Why not? I mean,
well, I have some reasons why not. He's been terrible.
Yeah.
All due respect to Ian, of course, but he's been really bad.
Ian was bad with the Angels. He was bad in the spring. It's been a long time since he was a postseason hero for the Braves. Angels let him go, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, DFA'd. People miss that. That's what happened. Like, he got traded to the Angels by the Braves for basically nothing, and then he got just straight up DFA'd by the Angels, which is why he's available. But he was on waivers. So, question somebody asked us about this was like, basically, can they assign him to Gwinnett if they want to? The answer is he's got options. So yes, they can assign him to Gwinnett if they want to, because they claimed his contract. He's on the same deal he was on before with the Braves.
Well, no, I don't think he has options. So I think what's going to happen is
my fault. I had that mixed up. You're 100%.
I got
right.
you. It's deep into the night, but no, I think it's basically the same situation. However, I would not be shocked if the Braves have Ian with the big league club for a little while and then outright him or try to outright him to Gwinnett and recapture some of those minor league flexibility. I mean, it seems like the Braves don't want to completely give up on Ian at this point. But as we talked about forever, all spring, if you don't have the minor league options, it's just really tough to carry him. And I'm guessing he'll be bullpen emergency insurance out in Coors Field, which is never a bad thing, especially when Bryce Elder and AJ Smith-Shawver are going to probably start.
He could. I mean, I don't want to dream. He could start Tuesday. The Braves have not announced a starter for Tuesday. I don't think it's going to be Ian. I don't think it's going to be, for the record, but they have not announced a starter. I think one of the reasons I messed that up a second ago was that I was reading a tweet from our colleague Stephen Tolbert, who brought up what you said and was basically, I wonder if the Braves are going to cut Ian basically and have to find a way to get him to Gwinnett. That might be what I'm thinking is going to happen here. But you're right. I mean, I guess the thing is he better than Davis Daniel, who the Braves DFA Jesse Chavez again, and then promoted Davis Daniel, who actually pitched a scoreless inning on Sunday. Look, the thing is, there's a lot of fat at the end of the roster right now. Yeah. That's one of the realities here with all the issues, injury issues they've had. They had this spot for, we think will be Smith-Shawver on Tuesday, but they don't know. The reality is they have 3 starters right now, and the third is Grant Holmes. As we alluded to earlier, you said this perfectly. Like, Grant Holmes is the 5th starter that's really being the 3rd starter right now. Even just the fact that Ian is back in our lives for a minute in whatever role, other than his pedigree, he's shown nothing since the start of spring training to tell you he's a major league pitcher. That sounds harsh, but I don't mean it to be. It's just the reality. Like, his numbers in LA were awful. He had 20 walks and 10 strikeouts in spring with the Braves. Like, no one can live like that. So maybe they find something at some point. I'm not saying they don't. He's still a talented guy, but like, I'm going to guess he's one thing that will surprise me. I'll take it on me, Scott, is if Ian stays on the major league roster only, I will be very surprised. Yeah, like beyond the next few days. Like, I don't really see a reason for that to happen. So,
yeah, I was surprised and I wasn't. that they brought Ian back.
He's
It's
available.
whatever.
Yeah.
Jesse Chavez DFA'd. I mean, come on, man. It's time to retire Jesse.
Well, do they have an agreement with Jesse Chavez? I'm actually would want they would not admit this for any reason, but I wonder if they just like have a handshake with Jesse, like, hey, Jesse, every few weeks we're just going to sign you, and we're going to have you be up if we need you for a second, and then we're just going to DFA you, because like, and that I think Jesse, I don't know, it's a very odd situation. Like, did he get in the game? I can't remember.
Yeah, he pitched Friday. And
he pitched Friday. That's where it was.
Shelled. I mean, he only gave up one run, but it's just, look, man, we love Jesse. We'll move on. He throws 88 mile an hour.
Yeah, he's 1,000. It's fine.
Fastballs that cut back in towards the barrel for most hitters. I mean, it's just great human being. If Jesse wants to be the bullpen coach one day or something like that, all for it. Special advisor, whatever. Keep Jesse Chavez around. Just don't have him pitch. That's kind of where we're at.
It's probably over. Okay, that's the news segment. We'll see what happens with Ian as of Monday. But everyone reported he'll be with the team on Monday. That's gonna be a roster move too. Like they had a full. Maybe it's just Davis Daniel. We don't know, but keep an eye on that as of Monday morning. We alluded to it earlier. The Braves are in Colorado for 3 games. No off day in between. They have the off day on Thursday, but not on Monday this week. Wednesday afternoon is a afternoon game into the travel day, off day on Thursday. They have announced 2 of the starters. It's Bryce Elder on Monday at Coors Field, which is scary. Tuesday is a TBD, which again, we think it's going to be Smith-Shawver, but they have not said that, and which is a little bit interesting to me. But part of that's because he's not on the team. He's not on the roster, so they can't announce that technically.
Yeah.
And then Sale on Wednesday. You gave the numbers earlier. I'll give them one more time. The Rockies are 4-23. They have lost 6 straight games. And my favorite stat about the Rockies right now, and by favorite, I mean favorite, I guess. They currently have the worst run differential in baseball at -69. And it's 30 runs worse than any other team in the league. It is April 27th. You know how bad you got to be 30 runs worse than every other team after only 4 weeks? Like, they're on a White Sox last year trajectory right now. I don't know if they're going to stay there. They probably won't stay there because most teams don't. Most teams are not the White Sox from last year who were just like all-time terrible. But the Rockies are on the pathway at the moment to being all-time terrible. They have won 14.8% of their games. I'm terrified, Scott. Terrified. Got to be honest with you. I say all that for a reason. I'm terrified about this series. I really am.
Me too.
What's wrong with us? Why are we like this?
It's scary. It's like, I feel like every football season, there's an SEC team that has a game against Prairie View State Christian, and it's in between like a game against Bama and a game against Georgia, and they're somehow trailing 14-10 in the third quarter. Like, there's a fair amount of, look, man, these are professional baseball players.
If you didn't say that, I was literally going to use that exact line. Like, the gap is not as big as it seems.
Yes. Because
baseball is baseball. Like, I promise you, the Braves are not going to be -800 favorites in any of these games. They're not. Like, they're going to be big favorites, even with Elder. In fact, I'm looking right. You know what, Scott? Right now, to stay true to myself, I'm going to look and see what the betting odds are with Bryce Elder on the mound on Monday. At this very moment, the Braves are about -180 favorites on the road with Bryce Elder on the mound. Like, so basically, they're going to be a bigger favorite than that in every other game of the series, you would imagine. Because the worst case scenario for the Braves, pitching-wise, is Bryce Elder, all due respect, again, on the road in Coors Field. And there's still like 65%. That's an implied number. And that's not 95%, though. Like, if you simulated, okay, this is very simple, Scott. If you're exactly that favorite in 3 games, you expect to lose one of them. Because you win 2/3 of the time. That's the implied odds of that, which means you lose one of the 3 games. A little bit of variance is something you lose 2 of them. So I think you said this earlier. They lost the White Sox last year. They lost 2 out of 3 of the White Sox last year. And that team was all-time terrible. Like, it actually was all-time terrible. So it's baseball. That's unsatisfying. I am kind of being funny, but also very, very possible to likely that they lose at least one. And worse than that will be frustrating. We'll definitely yell about it on the podcast. But yeah, win some games this weekend. Sorry,
win the series, bare minimum.
Yeah, win 2 out of 3.
I promise you we will do zero sugarcoating if they somehow do not win this series. We will do a very frustrated podcast because you have to win. You're not. No one can go in with a reasonable mind and say you must sweep this series unless
don't do that.
Unless it's 3 games to make the playoffs or something. But yes, I mean the Rockies, they're very bad. Offensively, they're not very good. The pitching is a disaster.
They're not good at anything. They're not good at anything. They're bad.
They're very, very bad. Coors Field has been relatively friendly to the Braves over the years, and hopefully the offense keeps clicking.
Okay, I have to say this stat. There's one more Rocky stat. The Rockies play half their games at Coors Field. We understand this. The Rockies have the fewest runs scored in the National League.
Oh, wow.
Playing at Coors Field. Like that's impossible. If you don't follow this year to year, you could be a bad offense and still score a bunch of runs at Coors Field because of the way that the field plays. The Rockies, I don't think the Rockies have ever been last in scoring in any or anywhere near that. Even when they've been bad, they're not usually last in scoring because now they're almost always near the bottom in runs allowed because they play Coors Field. But like the fact that they're last in scoring in the National League by 13 runs right now. So anyway, we'll stop doing Rocky stats. Go win the series. Stack series. You know what? A little bit of synergy here, Scott. For the beginning to the end of the podcast, stack series wins. Go win in Colorado. That's all it is.
Absolutely. Yes. You had this now second West Coast road trip of the year. You're already 2-1 against a really good Diamondbacks team. Bare minimum, go 4-2. And if you can go 5-1, terrific. It's not impossible. Absolutely, the Braves could win 3 games this week.
Certainly.
But bare minimum, 4-2. Take 2 games against the Rockies. They're very bad. The Braves are playing much better. The offense should have a really good time. Even if it's Bryce Elder and AJ Smith-Shawver, they still, as you alluded, Brad, are very, very big favorites in those games. And hopefully they don't have a letdown like they did time after time last season. Take care of business, beat up on a bad team, and just keep it rolling because then you have a lengthy homestand whenever you have the day off on Thursday.
For sure. And then we will look ahead to it, but the Dodgers are coming to town this weekend.
The Dodgers are good, but they've
been human. They've
been like 500 for 3 weeks now, and
they're banged up, and their pitching's banged up, and all these things. Yeah. So that's a good thing. We'll talk about that more later on this week. But the Dodgers have not been quite the juggernaut that they were supposed to be lately. They were at the beginning of the year. They were like 8-0 or whatever they were. But they're human all of a sudden. But that's a big showdown, and we'll have plenty of time for it. It's some revenge factor after getting your butt whooped to the beginning of the season, all those things. But in the meantime, take care of business in Denver, and we'll talk all about it all this week on the Hammer Territory podcast. Scott, that is a professional segue. How are you, my friend? Let's get out of here. Sign off on a Sunday evening. You just drove back from Phoenix, however, God knows how long that takes you to get back to Tucson. But what else is happening in your life? Plug yourself, and let's get out of here.
Baseball time, Brad. We are in the full swing now. I know we have a lot of NBA and NHL fans too. Playoffs going on. It's a good time of year in the sports calendar, and it seems like the Braves have kind of turned a corner. Even if Sunday's game was frustrating, overall, man, you just can't downplay a series win against a really good Diamondbacks team. And it feels like the Braves have figured some things out. So a big thank you to everybody who's tuned in. We're actually coming up this week on our 1-year anniversary of Hammer Territory. Of course, Brad and I have been recording for like 8 or 9 years now on different other sites, but Hammer Territory's 1-year birthday is May 2nd, I think.
I believe that's right. I'm trying to check it right now as we're talking. I think that's right, though.
Real time.
You
want me to sing to bridge the gap here?
We're almost there. May 2nd was our first episode. So that's correct.
There we go. Happy birthday, Hammer Territory. Happy early birthday. But yeah, we'll be back. Lots of stuff coming this week. Of course, post-game shows with the Rockies, and then we'll do a big series preview for the Dodgers this upcoming weekend. I'm sure Truist Park is going to be packed.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, good weekend for the Braves. Good week overall, beating up on the Cardinals and the D-backs. And let's keep it rolling, man. Let's take advantage of this schedule, this break in the schedule against the Rockies. No one can guarantee a sweep. No one should call for a guaranteed sweep or else. but this is a series you should win. And this is a series you have a real chance at sweeping if you continue to play the way you have played the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely right. That is Scott Coleman, fresh off of back-to-back games in Phoenix. We appreciate you being here, my friend. As always, my name is Brad Rowland. Follow us on social media at Hammer Territory on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And please do us a solid and subscribe to this podcast anywhere you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, likes, ratings, reviews, appreciated, all that fun stuff. Stay tuned. We'll have more this week, as always, and we'll see everybody next time.